my friends in that eighth grade, we wrote a 100-page script to then film it the summer going into ninth grade. Because for whatever reason in our heads, we were like, we're 14, we're not gonna be kids forever. We're going into high school. We gotta start taking life seriously. Thank God I didn't know any of that stuff when I was 14 or 15 years old. That I just went, yeah, I think George Lucas made Star Wars, so I'll just make this movie. I was working from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single night. It got to a point where I was like, Mom, Dad, guys, I don't think that I can do it. My mom said, well, why don't I help you? I truly think that this is going to be worth it. This is something that actually feels so much bigger.
How did you make 10 movies at how old are you now?
I am 23.
At 23 years old. How have you made 10 movies at 23 years old?
I grew up in a very small town in North Carolina, where as supportive as my family and friends and everyone was, like, we had no idea what a filmmaker did or anything like that. So, like, we had no idea how that world worked. We had absolutely zero connections. I didn't even know what a short film was. All that I knew was movies. And so it was eighth grade when I was like, man, I've made, like, I guess they were short films for class, but I was like, these are only like a minute long and they're like, they feel silly and like I'm not actually doing something serious. And I know that I want to be a storyteller. So I got my friends, and that eighth grade, we wrote a 100-page script to then film it the summer going into ninth grade. Because for whatever reason in our heads, we are like, we're 14, we're not gonna be kids forever. We're going into high school. We gotta start taking life seriously. And so we we didn't even know what to research, but we understood that all of these scenes would probably take this amount of time to film, because we assumed the actors were probably going to be late or confused on how to get to locations. We were like, well, we've never actually like directed or filmed something really before, so let's give ourselves some time to do this. And I think that movies are shot with multiple shots. So if we consider that, then maybe we'll try this. And we didn't even realize it, but we were all working as producers and directors of photography and shot listing and all this stuff. And so before we realized it, like, we had spent that entire summer filming an entire feature film. And then that like that first semester of school, I edited the entire movie on iMovie. I
Nice.
didn't know what Premiere was. I didn't know what DaVinci was. I knew that iMovie was for free, and I made funny trailers off of that. So I was like, I guess like I can make this work. I don't know what the professionals use, but this is doing the job. It was a week before my birthday, and my computer blew up while I was at school.
Oh
And so,
no.
yeah, my mom came home. Um, I was still at school. My mom came home and my computer was on fire on the kitchen table.
Oh
And so she
wow.
called me and she's like, Jacob, like, I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. Like, I came home to this. Like, I don't know. Is your computer okay? And I was like, Mom, is the house okay? And so we took it to like a computer repair place, and they were like, every single thing is destroyed except for your movie. It's like,
Wow.
and so we got like a burner computer to finish the project on, because she was like, is this something that really matters to you? Like, should we put in the effort to do this? And I was like, yeah, I'm so close. We have to finish this, and I need to prove something to the world that, like, I did this and this is my thing. And so we got that burner computer, finished the movie, and then my my mom, for my birthday, ended up surprising myself and the entire cast and crew, and she got our local theater to show the movie for a couple weeks. And so that was like the most amazing thing ever, to see your work that you did with all of your friends and family and show it on the big screen and have people go to it and say, like, man, I can't believe you did it. Like, you had been talking about wanting to be a movie maker, and you actually went and did it. And it was that feeling of like we made this on an iPhone 4. We had no idea what we were doing, but we learned so much. And to be able to like genuinely feel proud of ourselves for making something bigger than ourselves, I was like, I gotta ride that high for the rest of my life. And so since then, I mean, look, when we finished that feature, I still didn't know what a short film was. I was, I was like,
Right.
I guess this is what I do now. So I
Just
started,
jumped right into the big leagues.
yeah, every year. I was like, I want to ensure that every single year, to keep track of time, I make at least one feature film.
That's insane.
Yeah. Right now, I'm working on, man, it's either my 10th or 11th, depending on how you count it. I think the Oscars say if it's 45 minutes, it's technically a feature.
I believe that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I've been going off of. So there's one film that I did that's I think 45 minutes and 1 second. I was like, hey, technically a feature. We'll go with it. Um, but the one that I'm working on right now has by far been the most challenging, but also the most care and effort and love that I've ever put into something. And it's really fun and really exciting to feel that I truly think that this is going to be worth it. This is something that actually feels so much bigger than what I could ever tell.
And this
And
is Cardboard Island.
this is Cardboard Island. Yeah.
Nice.
It
So how is that going? Where are you at in the process on that?
it is ultimately it's ultimately always moving forward, but I'm sure as you know with your works, anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yes.
And so just I'm gonna have to tell this story eventually. I had just realized that after half a year of working with a VFX artist that they had not actually done a single shot of VFX work. And
Whoa.
so that was half a year of waiting just wasted. And so when the movie heavily it's all shot on a green screen to then be put onto miniatures that we've built, but we still need to take out the green screen, and there's a lot of rotoscoping because we didn't know how to properly light a green screen and learning along the way. And so I'm living in New York right now, but I took 2 months to go back to my home in North Carolina because I was like, I need to bunker down, I need to work on this thing. And it was, I was working from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single night, just absolutely killing myself. It was like the most miserable, worst mental health I've ever been in. But I was like, I need to get this done. And it got to a point where I was probably like a sixth of the way done. I was like, Mom, Dad, guys, I don't think that I can do it. Either I, I quit this project and I'm miserable and I've wasted all this time and all this money, and there's this project just that's never going to exist that I'm always going to wonder what could have happened, or I finish the project and I genuinely don't know if I could survive. Like, not even
Yeah.
exaggeration, but like I don't know if my body could hold out for much longer. And my mom said, well, why don't I help you? I was like, you don't, I, you have seen me every single day work from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Like, there's no way that you could learn how to do it. And she's like, give me After Effects, give me DaVinci Resolve, give me Premiere Pro. Like, I'll work right next to you. We'll do it together.
Oh
And
my
so,
goodness.
yeah, at first I really hated myself for being like, I can't put that much pain onto my own mother. But then she was like, and your brother will help too. And I was like, okay, I would love to put that pain onto. So the three of us worked every single day side by side. It was like a little Jacob Boatsman film sweatshop. And we all just we cranked out all of the first pass of the visual effects. And so
Wow.
yeah, if that's not like the most beautiful story of like family's got your back thing ever. It was the most magical moment that I've had in filmmaking, I feel like, by far.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. So now I'm working on revisions. We are finalizing the score. So many people have come together hand in hand to help with this. It's such a magical thing, and to have so many people believe in your project. I truly think that it's going to be something really, really great.
You mentioned in one of your videos about the Muppets and that being an influence. Can you talk to me about your relationship with the Muppets? I'm looking behind me right now. I have a Muppets poster on my wall here in my
Really?
office. Yeah. I
Dude,
was a
I love the
huge Jim
Muppets.
Henson fan.
I love the Muppets so much. I think that Jim Henson is one of the most inspirational figures of our time. Um, yeah, it's so I feel like every conversation that I have with someone, that inspiration for Cardboard Island is something different, but Muppets has always really stuck with me. I I love how little they take themselves seriously.
Mm.
Same time, it's never like a cheeky wink at the camera type thing. It's like you know that they're just having so much fun.
Yeah,
And
there's like a sincerity to it while
right.
not taking yourself seriously.
It's never like a Deadpool look at the camera and be like, "We know that this is dumb." It's like, yeah, of course Kermit's gonna play the banjo because he just does that.
Right?
Like, of course he flies his hands around because he's a Muppet. Like, what did you expect was gonna happen? But at that same time, it's so sincere and there's so much heart in it. And I think this was something that I'm have been trying very hard to explain and show in my art, but when you can break that wall of, instead of Kermit being a human or a CGI frog, he's actually a really silly looking puppet frog with googly eyes, and like he does not look real at all. But when the audience can say, yeah, that's the main character, it bridges this really nice connection between the movie and the audience, where the audience can feel like they're part of the creation, if that makes any sense.
Like almost like they're like participating in this very conscious suspension of
Yeah,
disbelief.
and it's that, yeah, exactly that. And it's this feeling of trust and like, okay, yeah, you trust me that I will believe that Kermit is a real thing. I'll go along with you on this thing. And then it feels even more personal with the project. And so when not only you can do that, but Kermit sings, are you kidding?
Right. Right.
That it feels so personal and so magical and so intentional.
Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with perfection? I think there's
Yeah.
something, you mentioned in one of your videos kind of about people in film school that are so obsessed with the cameras and the lenses and sort of the technology. So I remember this too, where people were just like, and there is something to geek out about. Oh, this specific
Yeah.
lens that can do an anamorphic and in all of this, and oh, that's so cool. But what I've seen in your work is, it almost feels like a little bit more of a big picture approach
Yeah.
to creating something.
I really like that big picture approach. Um, yeah, and I still very much struggle with perfection. And I also like, dude, I love new lenses and I love geeking about new cameras and like learning how to properly light something or seeing someone else geek out about how to properly do a shot. Like that's super awesome. But at that same time, like that's super awesome for the director of the photography. That's
Right.
not something that I necessarily aspire to be. I want to be a storyteller and I want to be a director and figure out how to get actors to that emotion and tell that story and get the audience to understand that. And I love that that's just a totally different world that everyone else can geek out about. And I can look from afar and be like, that is really cool. Um, but every single project, I still really struggle with perfectionism and like even going back to my first ever movie I made at however old, like shooting on an iPhone, you're obviously that's not going to be an Ursa Mini or an Alexa or
Right.
anything. And so, but I didn't understand that at the time. I was like, an iPhone shoots video. Why is this not looking good? And so
Mm,
spend so much time trying to make it look good, and then the day would get a hold of me. And
mm.
so, it's especially in working on what I'm doing now, where I'm making a short film a week, which really means that I only have a day to shoot the entire thing. It's like we just don't have time to be perfectional. It really helps when we don't have time and we're like, okay, we're never going to make it look as beautiful as this stuff, but we can cheat it by, making them next to a window. And if we spend that time that we would have spent lighting the scene and instead working on the acting and really telling a story, then we're gonna get what we would much rather have. And with being perfect, I mean, what's perfect to me is gonna be different than what's perfect to you, and especially in art, everything is so subjective. Where it's so much easier said than done, of course, but like I'm just gonna say it. I did not think that the Barbie movie was perfect.
Yeah.
But I know so many other people that's like, that's God tier.
Yeah. Right.
Same time, I love Mamma Mia. I think that that's the standard. And I know so many people that are like, yeah, Mamma Mia was dumb. Like that was so terrible. And
Mm.
understanding that and being like, well, what did I like about Mamma Mia? I really liked that it seemed like they were having so much fun. There was like it was fun, it was silly, like they were having a good time. But I also really love Eternal Sunshine through the
Mm.
Spotless Mind, and that's a very serious movie that I love because it's a really personal, serious movie that's told in an experimental way. And so I've understood that I've got my own crazy, weird. It can't even be a niche because there's no way that you could categorize Mamma Mia and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in the same movie genre or anything. And so understanding that that's just my personality, just how you have your own personality, it's like just you have to just make the movie that you like to make.
Yeah.
Um, when you're trying to get to that cinematic standard or whatever, you're never gonna be able to get there. And even if you do get there, chances are there's gonna be a lot of people that just don't like it.
Yeah.
So, as silly and simple as it sounds, the best approach to getting perfection is understanding that you're never gonna get to perfection. And honestly, a lot of people really connect with it when it isn't perfect.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
like that's kind of the hidden key that I've got right now is like with these sketches and all the movies, it's like if they were shot beautifully and cinematically, there's a chance that people would take it too seriously. And I love that people are commenting and having so much fun with it because they can see that yeah, Jacob made this movie and yeah, like they seem like they really, really care about what they're doing. And I would much rather have that than have people go, this was shot beautifully, but who cares?
Right. Well, one of the things I'm so curious about because like you are right now, so you're creating one short a week that's like a
Yeah.
sketch kind of piece.
Hmm.
But then you've also created films in the past, I'm thinking about like Happy People that's so dramatic, right? And so
Yeah.
serious. And so how do you kind of square that circle for yourself, or is that something that you think about at all in terms of kind of the range of what you've created?
Are you saying like what is my genre or how do I battle with different genres
Well,
or
yeah, just like internally. I mean, like, so I've written a lot of stuff. I tend to lean a little bit more on the comedy side of things, though I've done a bit of dramatic stuff. But
yeah.
you know, I I find that those are two very different worlds to exist in. At least they have been for me, to do something that's
Right.
very dramatic versus to do something that's much more lighthearted.
Hmm. Um, I mean, even the sketch that's coming out today, that's it's not even a sketch, it's a short that's pretty dramatic. I hope that people don't see it as a comedy. But I think I just love to learn. And so learning for me personally, comedy and working on improv comedy is comes really naturally to me, and that's really exciting to let the actors fly and work with it and learning to on set to be like, okay, what works, what doesn't work. But then like I really loved directing Happy People because it's like we're taking this seriously and we're having so much fun doing it because in our minds we're like, yeah, that was really pretty. People are gonna really like this. I think everyone is a really multi-dimensional human. That's just how humans are. And so I think that there's a world where you don't have to be I'm just funny and that's it, or I'm
Hmm.
serious and that's it. And I definitely don't want to bog myself down into that. And so I really love going all the way dramatic and the next day going all the way funny, or saying what's the comedy in drama, or what's the drama in comedy, or what's the horror in this, or what's the sci like I really love dipping my toes into everything with the understanding of I hope to God I never fall into a genre.
Mm.
Yeah. Like as as incredible as Christopher Nolan is, I just don't see him ever making a comedy. And
Right.
I feel like that's kind of sad. And I'm sure that I mean he's Christopher Nolan. He's perfectly content not making a comedy, but um since I don't know who I want to be, I'm really happy and really thankful that I'm not a Christopher Nolan where I have to be a certain thing and I have the freedom of saying I want to make a happy people because I really care about telling this really serious personal piece. And then the next day saying, I really want to make a funny drunk sailor at a bar.
Right.
Like that'd be it's so much fun to be able to experiment with all that stuff.
You're so right. I mean, I'm thinking about, Wes Anderson's new trailer just dropped.
Hmm.
And I feel like as Wes keeps making movies, he's almost like narrowing himself into a corner of like they're like very Wes Anderson movies. Like even if you go to back to Grand Budapest or something, there was a little bit more, not
Yeah,
everything was perfectly symmetrical. And now it's like it's dial like every single shot in the trailer is
I'm like a
perfectly symmetrical.
parody of Wes Anderson.
Right. It's like yeah, like how far down that track are you gonna go? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like
And we're
I
all expecting a certain like the way the jokes come and the way the story like all of that's kind of
right.
baked into us going into that as well.
Yeah. Man, I love Bottle Rocket. That's one of my favorite movies, and I feel like that's because that's like a pure Wes Anderson and
Dude, the end of Bottle Rocket where they're sitting and Owen Wilson goes, "We did it, man. We did
Mhm.
it." I don't know why. That is the funniest scene to me in
Yeah.
any movie. When you're thinking about the stuff that you're doing, when you're coming onto a new project,
Yeah.
you've done a lot. You've created a lot of projects. And, most people at our age have not created nearly as many projects.
Sure.
I'm really curious how you're approaching something so that you can take it to the finish line.
Dude, ignorance is bliss. Um, that's like my life motto. That's how I got through with my first feature film. I didn't have any doubt that I couldn't do it. I just had the thought of, yeah, this is what filmmakers do. I want to be a filmmaker, so I'll just do it. If I had thought for a moment, like, dude, I can't do this. Features cost like a million bajillion dollars, and even then, like, that takes months to years of writing a script. You can't just finish with a first draft. You need a writer's room. You need producers on board. You need like talent on board. There's no way that you can pay for film festivals, and even then, do you have the patience to sit through all the film festivals and be told 99.9% no's? And thank God I didn't know any of that stuff when I was 14 or 15 years old. That I just went, yeah, I think George Lucas made Star Wars, so I'll just make this movie. It's
Right.
the only thought. And so now, like, I still keep that ignorance is bliss because if I take a second to think like if I really want to take myself seriously, I need to be thinking about which short film festivals this goes into, and I'm doing what I love to do with, and I know how to simple edit, and I know actors, and those actors can talk like we have a really nice simple workflow, and we know we're just going to put that onto YouTube, and if something comes from it, then that's great. And honestly, I feel like the way that this day and age is working is like there's a really good argument for it might be better to just put it onto YouTube instead of a film festival.
Yeah.
But knowing like if this bombs, we always have next week or we always have the next project. It takes a lot of weight off your shoulders and you just have the freedom to be like, let's just do this because we're having fun.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, just in there, how are you thinking right now? Because I find myself thinking a lot about how this large, filmmaking, Hollywood,
Mhm.
kind of on a grand scale, I feel like is changing. And I
100%.
think
Yeah.
10 years ago, I was really into like the Rooster Teeths and the rocket jumps,
Hmm.
that they were creating stuff online that really felt like it was going to be like, oh, this is where we're headed.
This is it. Yeah.
And I think I've heard a lot of discourse recently that people are a little bit more disenfranchised with that. I'm still feeling hopeful about kind of the future of, distribution, as Casey Neistat said, filmmaking is a sport.
Mhm.
Um, how are you feeling and contending with kind of the larger world at the moment?
Man, I always want to be on the very much optimistic side, and I do think that filmmaking is a thing that's always changing and always evolving. I would say like nothing is permanent, and if we go into this wave where people like YouTube videos more than blockbusters, that's awesome. But then we have to also understand that there's gonna become a wave when people go back to liking, like that's always gonna be different and always changing. But I am honestly really optimistic that like Raka Raka just made an A24 film, and those are people that I had watched all their YouTube videos. And like one of my big inspirations is Joel Haver,
Mm.
and dude, he's going to be a voice in Cardboard Island. And I'm super excited for that. He plays a piece of toast. So, having
That's
him,
the most perfect. I love that.
yeah. Um, but like he he's helping out with Adult Swim stuff, and he's a voice in video games, and like he's doing all this stuff. I think that there's 100% a world where YouTube stuff and small scale stuff, people love that personality thing, and people are gonna drive way more towards that. I think like not to get too negative, but like even A24 right now is becoming too A24, and they've lost a bit of touch of what made them special in the first place. And I know that that happens with every single company that gets bigger. Um, but I think that people are starting to realize that smaller, more personal things can bring in a big audience because people love that there's a person behind this thing. And so
Right.
I definitely think that Rocket Jump and Corridor Crew and like all these YouTube type stuff, people are gonna gravitate more towards that.
Well, and YouTube now is what? It's number one on connected TVs, is the number one app, which is like, which is crazy to think about that, the stuff that you and I can make and we can put out there, and people will probably watch this interview on a TV,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah,
that's
that's so
wild to think
crazy.
about.
Yeah, and I forget the official stats, but it's like YouTube is actually bringing in more for trailers than like Netflix is for their own trailers, which is really
Whoa,
crazy
okay.
that like YouTube is making more money off of Netflix's stuff than Netflix is.
That's hilarious. I
Yeah,
love that.
but it makes total sense. It's like when you have this free wild wild west platform, of course people are gonna watch whatever they want to watch.
I'm just so curious about your process. And these you're doing one, is it a sketch or is it just a short film every week?
I I'm saying I like to say short film because if I'm bogged down to a sketch, then again that's like okay, I have to be the funny guy. But I really like to experiment with any kind of genre. Uh, Funny has been the easiest, but like again, I had done a serious short a couple weeks ago. This today is coming out with another serious, and we've
Nice.
got a couple other serious ones planned out. But yeah, the process is a short film a week. Um, I have an ongoing Google Docs list of just ideas that come into my head, and so I'll write them down. And when I had first moved to New York City, I was the only crew, and
Okay.
I'm gonna write the script. I'm gonna find the actors. I'm gonna do that the weekend prior, so that m Monday through Friday, sometimes Thursday, we can produce it all together, figure out everyone's schedule, so then hopefully Saturday we can film the thing. It's gonna be really simple, it's gonna be whatever. And so that was working really well. And then slowly more people came on and on and on. And so like right now we have a full-time sound post-sound designer, post-sound editor. We have a full-time colorist. We have a part-time editor. Um, we've got like a full-time director of photography. She sometimes brings on light people. We our actress um has taken on the role of a full-time producer, and so she's reaching out to these companies to see like, hey, can we film here? Can we do all this stuff? And it's now I feel like it's kind of in the style of Saturday Night Live,
Mm.
where we get the actors that we want, and we're like, okay, we have a week to produce this thing, so that that weekend we can pump it out, and that's our Saturday night.
Yeah.
So that has been it's kind of blossomed right in front of me, where I definitely was not expecting it to grow this fast, but I'm really excited for how it's been going. And YouTube is so hard to grow an audience, as you know, but
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I I think I am seeing like steady growth, and people have said like it takes like 4 or 5 months of constant pump it out to see some kind of growth, but then it snowballs, which means it gets bigger and bigger and bigger exponentially. And so like this most recent sketch got more views than more views and more comments faster than the other views I've gotten. So I'm like crossing my fingers that it's slowly starting to snowball. But it it this was all for the intention that at the end of the year, I will hopefully have enough supporters and backers that when Cardboard Island is released to the public, that it'll get a lot of eyes on it.
Mm.
That I can say to anyone who potentially wants to buy the thing, hey, I've got this proven thing and this proven audience. This is worth your time and investment. Um, but I've slowly come to realize like if nothing happens from it, this was such a fun practice, and I've met so many amazing people that I'm so excited to work with again that like eh, I I didn't hear the Casey and I said this is a sport thing. That's a really cool reference, but like I mean, there's no way that you can view this as a waste of time because again, like if Cardboard Island and my normal 9 to 5 job is my chef working in a kitchen, then this is no different than a chef making dinner for his family.
Mm.
There's no way that you can say like me having fun is a waste of time because I'm still working on my kitchen and I'm still like moving forward, you know?
Yeah. So are you balancing all of this with also having a job outside of this?
Yes, right now I'm working three full-time jobs. One is the sketches, one is Cardboard Island, and one is I work at an advertisement agency. So
Okay.
that's 9 to 5.
Wow. Wow. And how are you finding, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to be carrying, right? How are you, how's that going?
Not good. No, um I'm finding the time. I just got promoted to more of a project manager producer role. So I was their full-time editor, which was really draining because that meant I was full-time editing their stuff and also full-time editing Cardboard Island and also full-time editing the sketches. And so now that I've knocked that off my plate and I have part-time editors for the uh the short films, now I am really just editing Cardboard Island, and so that's really nice. And so it's definitely clearing up, and I'm really excited for Cardboard Island to be off of my hands and just let it run its course with wherever it needs to go. Um, but yeah, it's a lot. I'm busy, I would say every single day.
Yeah, it
Like
sounds like
back to
it.
the brim. Yeah.
Well, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I would love to just ask you about Happy People because
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
just really curious about that film. It
Mhm.
is such the cinematography in there is just absolutely gorgeous. The colors just popped in a way that the reds just came forward. It just kind of shocked me. And then you said you had a budget of less than like $5,000 to make it.
We had, yeah, I think it was $4,000 or
$4,000.
$3,000. Yeah. Yeah, that was a really crazy experience. So Aiden Kelly was the director of photography. Wei Chung Chen was our colorist. Aiden Kelly and we met our sophomore year of college. I was writing Happy People, and um he was really excited by the project, and I was like, I'm probably just gonna film this the same way that I film everything. And he's like, no, like if you want to film this in a school, like you can't just say I'm gonna film this with like my own camera, I'm my own crew. Like this has the potential of being something like taken really seriously. And so we storyboarded together for him to then shot list an entire thing. So that was the first time that I had ever made a real shot list.
Mm,
So that was super cool to work with him, and he's 100% a DP first, and it was really cool to have that trust in him. And our entire crew was just people for free from college, and our craft services was my mom and one of her good friends. She made all of our meals, and we got really lucky that the school let us film there for free and use their actual students as extras.
oh my gosh.
Like everything just really, really worked out, and I had been so used to producing everything for free that I kind of understood every single loophole that we could go through. Like
Right.
instead of buying professional lights, I was like, really, we can use these like $50 LED lights, and if we put a white t-shirt over them, then that'll give us this type of fill and all that. Like it was a lot of problem solving with the understanding of like no one's watching the movie for outside of the frame,
Mm,
watching what you're able to capture with the camera. So who cares if this is held up by duct tape?
right.
Everyone was doing it for free. Wei Chung Chen, he was another SCAD student, and we ended up paying him because he's a professional colorist. But even then, like I think we paid him like $300 when it should have been like $6,000.
Sure, right. Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, I've never made a feature film before. I want to take my stab at it." And so that was super cool to work with him on that, and everyone was just so passionate about making something come to life.
Yeah, I mean it's just incredible to see. It's incredible to have that kind of support from people. Yeah, I did a feature a couple of years ago and kind of similarly budgeted, and we
Yeah,
ended up sort of doing a mostly one location, and it was in a location that I had access to and actually wrote it for that space.
very nice. Yeah.
Um but having people that are so enthusiastic and willing and like I know I'm not making any money off of this on the back end. It's not like I'm trying to, short you on this, but like
Yeah,
let's all come in and make some like a piece of art together. Like that's a really magical experience.
yeah, and I think I was most baffled by the actors because
Mm,
my roommate took the role of the casting director, and we didn't realize this, but like overnight, like over I think over 1,000 people sent in auditions for the roles. It's like, oh
wow.
my gosh, now we have to sort through like over 1,000 people, or we get to. But I was like, I was maybe expecting like three people to
Right.
audition.
Yeah.
Um, and so working with like actual professional, like, professionally trained actors, and not just our friends. Not that our friends are bad actors by any means, but like working with people that are like, I want acting to be my future. I went to school for this. I have an agent. I'm doing all the work, and I'm still going to do this for free for these kids. Was like such a honor and a, a humbling experience to like work with these people that have their own kids and are having to travel for this and doing all this stuff, and knowing like we can't pay you.
Right.
But
Oh, it hurts.
yeah, they're like, we just want to do this because we love the story and we want to see this happen. It's like, wow, that's serious dedication.
Dude, that is absolutely incredible. The big thing I talk about now is just like as technology gets cheaper and more accessible, it's like there's this democratization of this art form that 30 years ago, it was really difficult to shoot in HD. And
Right.
now we all can shoot in HD. And that it makes me really excited. And as distribution, like as we're saying, as YouTube becomes more accessible, like the kind of art that is able to be created now
Right.
is wild and it's different and it's cool and some of it is awful and some of it's fantastic, but we need all of it.
Mm-hmm. 100%. It's so amazing that things can be awful and wonderful and amazing, and it can all be on the same playing field. That's so cool.
We just got to click upload, right?
I'm super excited for this. Again, so nice to meet you.
Dude, so nice to meet you as well. This is fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's cool to talk to someone who's had a somewhat similar experience.
Right, yeah, I saw your video and I was like, "Whoa, I've never seen anyone else do this thing. You're crazy."
Right back at you.
Well, so nice to meet you. I can't say that enough, and I'm really really honored and excited to see this happen.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, let's stay connected and talk soon.
Yes, best of luck to you.
All right, you too. Take care. Bye-bye.